Hello everyone, it's Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com. I know it's been quite some time since you've had a video from me, but we had Stamp Club a little bit later this month, and I don't like to show the videos ahead of Stamp Club because I don't think that's fair to the people that are in the club. And we've also been enjoying our summer here, so I wanted to show you this card. And this actually is a card that was created by France Martin. Maybe you've seen her. She is really excellent at doing lots of fun different cards, but her card actually used the coordinating stamp set. So I'm going to show you. This is in the annual catalog. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. My name is Rachel, and you can find all of the stuff that you might need to know about me at Rachthestamper.com. You can follow me here on YouTube. If you click the subscribe button if you're new, make sure you turn on the bell for notifications. But this is our catalog. It's the 2023-24 annual catalog. I call this the big catalog just because it's thicker. And this is a really cool stamp set. So, or I should say sweet. However, I wasn't really sure how would I be able to use this for fishing. I don't really have a lot of people that fish in my life, but I loved the paper. Now, one reason I really was tempted to purchase this is because I absolutely love the fonts and the greetings here. So, thought they were really cool. However, maybe some people don't have a dad in their life or a father figure, so you might not use some of the sentiments, which I get. I still think these are great. I love the script of these. I kind of hope they come out with a little bit more, almost reminds me of like a Western theme. But the other thing I wanted to show you is the fact that the paper is really amazing because it has a lot of different, very versatile sides. So what I wanted to show you is the fact that you can also use this without even getting that stamp set. So France did a cool card with this, with the coordinating stamps. I believe it said Happy Father's Day, but I brought out the Best Family Ever, which I think is a great stamp set. The only thing I wished we had in this, and I actually thought about this as I was creating it, if it said Pop, because my son calls my father-in-law Pop or Pop, and I thought Pop would be great, but you know, you can't have it all. So instead, we kind of reconfigured this to an uncle birthday card. And then today we're actually going to do one that says Dad. So you can see we don't have any separate happies. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So I have Happy Birthday Dad. I mounted it. I'm going to show you how to line it up so you can get it positioned really nicely. We're also using the, oh, I can never remember what these things are called. Stitched shapes. Stylish shapes. Stitch shapes are the ones we used to all love and were sad when they left. These are the stylish shapes. So we're going to be using the third largest, I guess you would say, or fourth smallest stitch circle, and we're going to be using the thin flag. Okay, so I have those two pieces out. I have Happy Birthday Dad because that's what we're going to use for this. And this paper, I used some of it twice. It's really simple, very, very simple card. So yeah, probably haven't seen this a lot because we don't really use vanilla as much as we used to, but this is thick vanilla. That's our base. It's kind of similar to the thick white. This is great because the regular white and regular vanilla really don't hold up very well if you're trying to stand your card up. They kind of tend to be a little bit floppier. They're great for using for the inside of dark cards, but not really great if you want something to actually hold up. So we have Very Vanilla, we have Mossy Meadow, and then we have the Let's Go Fishing DSP. There's a little piece of accent Calypso Coral. You could pick a different color if you wanted to, but I kind of wanted to pick out some of the fish. And then I also added a little bit of Wink of Stella to the fish just to make it a little bit more exciting. I will tell you one other thing though. I really am a little bit tempted to get this because I love the buoys. And again, I don't really love photopolymer. You know that about me. If this was red rubber, I would totally have gotten it right away. But photopolymer is not typically my favorite, but I just love the fact that you can create your own buoys. This would be great also for Christmas ornaments. I don't know what kind of things you could make with a fish hook Christmas ornament, but this one definitely, the bobber would make a great, I kept calling it a buoy, but the bobber would make a great Christmas ball as well. So I don't know. You never know. Maybe I'll get it. We still have this one for a long time, so there is a good chance that I might end up getting it. All right, so I'm going to show you what we have here. So we have our card base. It is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 5 1/4. 5.5, yeah. 8 scored at 4 1/4, excuse me. We have a piece of Mossy Meadow. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then we have just a scrap piece that's going to be for our flag. We also have, this is a 2 3/4 scrap piece of thick vanilla. This is going to be for our sentiment. And then we have our pieces of DSP. So for our DSP, we have 2 pieces, and this is pretty much, they're mostly from the same paper. So this, which you could use this side either if you wanted to. This measures 3 3/4 by 2 1/8. Same for this one, 3 3/4 by 2 1/8. This was the side France had, which was really cool. And then I just have 2 pieces that are 3 3/4. You can see these probably were connected at some point here somewhere. 3 3/4 by 1/2 inch. And we're going to just flip these here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by doing our sentiment. And I'm going to grab this because I'm going to show you how I did it, because this is the only thing that really has to dry. So one thing you want to be, I don't want to say careful with, but cautious, is when you're using photopolymer, sometimes your ink doesn't ink solidly. And what you want to do is, at times, if you don't get a good inking, you want to bring out your Versamark, okay? So I'm going to grab my little scrap piece. And I'm trying to see, I'm wondering if I can show you here, because when I originally did this one here, that's what it looked like. So I re-inked it, and then it kind of looked like this. And I know this is a lot going on, so it's difficult to see. But when I added the Versamark, I got a really nice solid image. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of set this up. I'm going to move this to the side. So I have Mossy Meadow. I did just freshly ink this, and Versamark. Okay, so if you're doing your stamp, so say this is where you want your stamp, right? You want it to be in the center so you can die cut it and everything looks nice. But the other thing is you kind of want things to line up a little bit more accurately. So what I tend to do is, first I will kind of set this where I want it. So say if we're going to put this here, but you kind of want to be able to line it up, I guess, a little bit. So we're going to put that there, and we're going to line this up. We're going to just kind of slide it over. Then we're going to take our happy birthday, and now I know these lines aren't exactly straight on this particular grid paper that I'm using, but I kind of tend to line them up with the grid paper, making sure it's inside. This is actually how I designed the stamped image that I was going to do. I wanted to make sure everything was going to fit. And the other thing was, originally I only did happy birthday uncle, but there was so much white or vanilla space up here, it just didn't look good. So I ended up adding the extra happy. So I'll show you how to do that as well. So then I'm going to just put the dad in. And this sometimes can be tricky because those photopolymer stamps are a little sticky. But see, I like photopolymer because you can see and you can line everything up, but also I just don't really love the way it stamps quite as much, so that's why. So then I'm going to just take my block and I'm going to set it down and pick everything up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little test stamp. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's see if we can get a side that's kind of clear. So I'm going to ink this just in Mossy Meadow. And you can see, I mean, we kind of have like a little bit of, some of it's inked a little bit better than others. It could have been where I lined it up. So I'm going to take my stamp and clean it. This does still have some stamp cleaner on there. I didn't respray it just now, but it's still slightly damp. So then if you actually stamp into, and we'll scoot this over a little bit, stamp into your Versamark. And what your Versamark does is it kind of just makes your stamp a little bit more tacky. So it holds things a little better. So then we're going to just do the same thing again. So I'm going to try to move around a little bit so maybe I didn't hit one particular spot. Okay, and then we're going to just do the same thing. I don't need this right now. And you can see how much more solid that is. Now granted, I still do have a little bit of a dark spot, so there's probably one spot on this ink pad that's just a little bit wetter than others, but even overall, it really has a more solid inking. So if you're ever struggling with photopolymer, which does happen a lot, especially if you're new, maybe you're new to stamping or whatever the case may be, add a little bit of Versamark. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is this, and I want to show you actually one of these, just so you can see. This one is gross because it's all inked up. I probably accidentally inked something with it. But the nice part about this is, I'm just going to wipe just a little bit of this off. But if you go in here, and say you get a little bit of green ink on there, it doesn't pick it up. It really is great about, it inks it, but it doesn't bring the residual ink to it. So if you stained up your Versamark, it's still perfectly fine. Nice part is we do sell an ink refill. So you just want to get that and just re-ink your pad. Just moving this around just a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to just line this up because I do want to be able to cut it in the center. Like that. Perfect. Okay, now we still need to add our other happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off, I'm going to clean these first. I'm going to take off the dad, so we don't need him any longer, but we do need the happy. Just wiping the sides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little piece of washi. That's why I was kind of trying to wipe this off, because you want it to stick. So some people will say that you can cut your stamps, and you totally can. I've never cut mine. I think I'm just too much of a chicken. But I'm just going to press this here. And I'm really just pressing it in with my nails to make sure that I don't cut off the little fancy part of the Y there. So we're going to just do the same thing again, and I'm going to line this up just so I can kind of see where I want it. So I'm going to just ink. Now, since this is only on the end, you can just kind of ink just your happy. And you probably could do this without masking it with the washi, but I like to use it just to be on the safe side. So same thing again. I'm going to just ink up with the Mossy. Okay, and then the reason we have this here is just because we did get a little bit of ink there. So I'm going to just lift this off. Easier said than done in that moment. And I'm just basically going to make sure this actually makes it into the trash can. And then I'm going to make sure that's lined up so it looks pretty good. And that's it. There you go. So you just want to make sure that you clean your stamp off again. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little swipe, set this on the side, and now comes the easy part. All we have to do is assemble it. So we are going to, I'm just going to pull out the mini. Sometimes the mini's kind of nice if you have a little something you want to cut. The only thing is there is no magnetic plate, so you do have to tape everything down because they do tend to wiggle around quite a lot if you ask me. I still use the Big Shot for probably 99.9% of the things I do, but since I have this here, if I'm doing something skinny, that's probably the only time I don't. So I'm just going to tape this in place, and I'm going to see if we can fit this on here at the same time. Where is, oh, here's another piece. Sorry, it's a very tiny piece. I'm going to tape this piece of washi and see if we can fit both of those at the same time. I'm going to move this just a little. Okay, and then I'm putting it on. So I'm using plate 1 and then 2 number 2 plates. You can also use the gray plate if you want a little bit more pressure, I guess. I'm just going to feed this in a little bit and get it rolling. All right. Stash this out of the way. That is the nice part about the mini. It is very small, so if you don't have a huge crafting space, it's definitely super helpful. Just gonna pull this off. I need to put that back on there because if not, and I need it, I will forget. And then I think this piece of washi has done its duty, so we're gonna let this one, I'm gonna set it free. Okay, and throw those in this recycle bin. Okie dokie. So now all we're going to do is assemble our card. So this is pretty easy. So you are going to take your, you can kind of test this out if you want. I like to have a little bit of a border there. So mine might be closer than necessarily some people may do. And gonna just line this up so they're a little bit overlapping. I probably cut them just slightly larger than I needed to. So that's going to be about it. So I am going to do this with liquid glue because I like to be able to move it in case I goof something up. And what I usually do is top, bottom, and then I add the 2 middle pieces. So we're just lining this up with a little bit of a border. Same on the bottom. Now remember, you do want to keep your Wink of Stella pen because you can give a little bit of a shimmer to the fish, kind of give them like a little bit of an underwater look. Try your best to try to line your side parts up if you can, you know, just do your best. That one's going to go in last. Okay, we're going to add this one. I'm going to overlap just a teeny bit. I want to save the bigger overlap for the top just in case I overestimated how I placed it. Yeah, that looks good. And I just want to make sure that I'm placing any type of paper that I do this with, because you could do this with any type of DSP. It's really nice for showing off more than one piece. It is absolutely a great layout for that for sure. But you want to make sure that you place any DSP that you're putting on there directionally correct, okay? That's the only thing you want to do. So we're going to put this back here. Just going to put a tiny bit of glue in the center. Going to kind of line that up like so. Looks good. Oops. Make sure I'm still not crooked. That looks good. And then where are they? Let me grab I have probably the end of my dimensionals here, because you know it seems like everything I'm working with is always at the end of my dimensionals. I'm just going to pull a few of these off, stack them on here, and we will add this to it and be finished. So pretty simple card. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It would be a great card for your uncle, your dad, your nephew, your brother, your son, honestly, or anyone who loves fishing, because I know there are lots of girls that love to fish as well. So I think that would be really pretty cool. But I also like the fact of the color combination for this. The fact that they do have some coral. They also have the, I almost called it Baja Blue, and I wasn't even around for Baja Blue. Boho Blue. You have those colors in there. The mossy is really, really nice color. So we're going to just pop this right here. Just like so. I don't really think it needs a ton of bling or really anything else. So I'm just going to give my trusty Wink of Stella a little shake. And I'm going to just hit just a little bit of the fish. I'm pretty sure these are all some sort of striped bass. That's going to be my haha. Maybe there is a lake trout in here. I don't really know, but I feel like underneath the water, all fish have that little shiny portion to them, which is why they are attracted by sharks, etc., because that little glint you see catches it. So that is it. Oh, I forgot one other thing. I didn't put it on the base. Come on, Rach. Jeez, a whiz. So if you wanted to, you could also pop this up onto dimensionals and put it on the base, but I think, oops, where we are is just fine. We're going to put this onto our card. And if you have some extra scraps of DSP left over, another fun thing to do is just put a little bit on the inside. So it's another good tip for you. We're just going to hit this with our bone folder, give it a nice crisp fold there. So what do you guys think of this card? I want to have to give a shout out to France when I finally put this on my blog. The blog posting may be a little bit late because I am going somewhere with Christian again. So right after our stamp club this month, I'm going to try to post all these videos if I can get everything done. So I'm hoping there will be a link below, but again, it was 2 1/8, 2 1/8, and these were 1/2 inch. Everything measured at 3 3/4. The base piece underneath is 4 by 5 1/4, and then we have our regular thick, very vanilla layer. I hope you all have learned something fun today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a great way to be able to use something that you already have, maybe a cool stamp set, and mingle it with some different DSP. And again, you could use so many different papers for this. It's definitely not limited to just this 100% for sure, because you could do this with all of the different DSPs you have if you want to be able to show more than one side off. If you haven't already, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I don't get a ton of comments on YouTube, so I do answer each and every one. It may take me just a little bit, but I thank you so much for watching today. Would love to hear what you think about this. If you have any card ideas on a card you would like to see made, make sure you leave me a comment. You can shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. And anything you'd like to buy of this in my online store, I totally appreciate your support. It's rachthestamper.stampinup.net. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.